Okay, I'm just setting up the live stream. Won't be long. So, we are at Leeds Bradford Airport in Microsoft Flight Simulator with the Avro RJ100 from JustFlight. So this is the Inibuilds version of the airport. I'll just go and quickly show you the flight plan before we get going. I've just been checking things out before we do this. So we're taking off from Leeds Bradford, and then we're flying down following a pre-prescribed flight plan from Inibuilds. Sorry, from Simbrief, get the name right, and then going into Jersey. So it's going to be an interesting arrival actually, because the star brings us into a non-directional beacon, and then you fly back out and come back in for the actual approach. And there's a hold you can optionally do in there when you get in above the airport. But just looking at the standard terminal arrival route, it's kind of interesting because there's no altitude restrictions on it. There is on this one, but not on this one. So I guess we can do pretty much what we want. But we'll find out. So let's go and have a look around Leeds Bradford before we get going, and go and program the aeroplane up and all the rest of it. So if we go and move the camera, we'll have a fly around the airport first. So I don't know if I've featured Leeds Bradford in the past. I think I may have a long time ago, but surely not before I upgraded my machine. So it's going to look probably a little bit better than it did previously. So let's go and fly out further. There's a huge building over here. What is this building? Let's go and have a look. Leeds Bradford Airport Industrial Estate. It's a huge, probably a logistics place of some description. I have no idea what it does. Anyway, you can see here's the airport. So it's a cold, windy day today in the UK. It's not the nicest weather ever. So let's come back down through the business side of the airport. So we've got a hotel here, or motel, whatever you want to call it. Not sure if they've done it quite accurately enough to see the labels. Oh, yep, they have. Farmhouse Inns, the Hawthorne Farm Hotel. And then come back in, and there's a logistics building here with some lorries delivering. Looks like a bit of a scenery glitch going on there. So lots of logistics buildings are on the outside of the airfield. It did look vaguely Amazonish, didn't it? Just the size of it. But just responding to a live stream comment there for anybody who's not seeing those comments. So we're going to go and have a good look around the building. As you can see, there's going to be a lot to this. So should we start up here actually? So there's like faux 3D right at the top, but then there's actual 3D further down. So there's a fast food place there, and some people looking very excited about getting a terrible burger. The Camden Food Company. So the quality of the 3D modelled people is very, very good. They're only static though, they're not animated, which is a bit of a shame. So we've got duty free, Calvin Klein, Prada, Chanel, all the usual things you see in airports. Don't think that goes anywhere down there. The people really are very good, aren't they? Yeah, so let me come back out of the building and we'll drop in through what would have been the normal doors in. Yeah, it hasn't got the entire building modelled, but it's got huge swathes of it modelled. So we've got the check-in desks. We just came up there a moment ago, didn't we? So we can cheat here and look through the building to see what has been modelled. So if we drop through the roof, we'll be able to see the interiors. There we go. There's a business lounge in here. Further lounges. It's impressive, isn't it? I noticed on the way in earlier we've got some animations going on with the baggage carousels, which is quite cool. There's our aeroplane, we'll be jumping in a moment. Okay, let's go and have a look in the tower. It's always interesting to see what's been fitted out, isn't it? So it's got the old card system. It's also got the modern radar. Very cool. It always impresses me how much effort they put into the air conditioning units on the roofs. There's another building down through here. Oh, that was what we just saw from the other direction. Yeah, we flew through there previously. So yeah, you can see the airport is remarkably well done. So let's go and get our aeroplane ready. So here we are with our CRJ. Sorry, not CRJ, our RJ100, Avro RJ100. So press the insert key, we're back inside the aeroplane and we can move around with the mouse. So Control 7 takes us overhead, we'll go and turn the batteries on. And Control 8 goes overhead, go and put the nav lights on, no smoking to auto and cabin emergency lights to armed. Turn the avionics on, the anti-skid goes to on, and lift spoilers yellow and green go to on. So then further down we're going to go and put APU gen to on, left inner pump to on, and then start the APU. While we're waiting for that, the flight deck emergency lights can go to armed. The center tank transfer can go to auto. Ice detect can go to on, and we can go and rotate the RS to align. We'll just wait for the APU first. So Luke's asking, can he ask why I use LittleNavMap and not Navigraph? I use both. Depends what the airplane is, and depends what I'm doing. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. So we're going to go and switch the INS system to align on both sides, and we have to wait. It'll probably be about 10 minutes or so until they align. It varies from time to time when you do it. So then in the tablets, we're going to go to the OFP app, and we're going to go and fetch our flight plan. So we'll reload. So EGNM to EGJJ, which is good. And then go to the aircraft tab and we'll import the payload from Simbrief. We can start the refueling. It's on instant, so it'll be quick. Refueling complete. And then go to the passengers and start boarding. Boarding in progress.
Boarding is complete.
And we've got that set to instant as well, so that's done as well. Okay, so over to the pilot instrument panel, we'll calibrate the altimeter, calibrate any gyros, uncage the standby attitude indicator, and then set EFIS to on for the pilot. Come over to the co-pilot side, turn his EFIS on as well. And then over to the FMC. So I've had really mixed results with this being able to load Simbrief data directly in. So I'm going to program it by hand, which isn't going to take long. So we pick up the GPS position, we drop it into the IRS position. And then we're going to go to route. And yeah, this is going to take a little bit longer than normal because if we do this by hand, but we can just follow the instructions across here. There's not too much to it. So EGNM is our departure airfield. And it's good to show how this works, I think, because a lot of people don't realise you can program everything by hand quite easily. We're going to EGJJ, which is Jersey. And flight number, we can make anything up we like. We don't have to fill in fields with hyphens, but we will put a flight number in. Runway we are departing from is runway 32. And then we can put the routing in before we activate. So let's go and go. So the thing you're looking for, there's the SID, the Standard Instrument Departure. So the beginning of the route goes to Nilsa. So we'll put in going direct to Nilsa. We won't try and put in a SID there because it's not the place you do it. So NELSA, and we put that in and it will go direct to Nilsa. Then we go direct to Barton. So BARTN. It's worth pointing out this aircraft doesn't have vertical navigation. Although it's got the system, you can put your heights in as references, it doesn't have any guidance to do with that. So it's going to be that one. So after Barton, we go N58 to Carno. So we go next page. So N58 airways go on the left, and N58 was to Carno with a K. K-A-R-N-O. So what you're doing is putting the airway in and then the intersection to the next airway. Carno, then direct, so obviously there's no airway here, direct to Al Hup. So we leave that empty and we just put Al Hup in. And it will say direct for us automatically. I forgot the alphabet then for a moment. And then we go direct to ABWIV. So ABWIV. Then direct to PACSE. PACSE. Then direct to SIDHO. There's no airways involved, is there, almost? SIDHO. Then direct from SIDHO, direct to Clacky. So next page. KLAKI. where are we? Paxi, Sidho, Clacky, then L149 to Big No, and then we've got the star. So L149 to Big No. B-I-G-N-O. So what you might want to do after doing this, if I just execute that, and execute, or activate and execute, sorry. So that will have put the legs in for us. If we go to performance initialization, we'll just go and clear this all up first, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So 39.2 is the gross weight. Oh, we need to clear the message. There we go. Keyed in 39.2. Reserves. We can find the reserves out by looking on the operational flight plan. So if we come back over to the OFP and look at the output, you'll see FinRes, which is final reserves, 0.8 of a ton, basically. So 0.8 goes in reserves. Cruise altitude. So if we go and look down here, we can see 29,000 feet on the Simbrief flight plan. So 290. We could put the winds in if we wanted to. We don't absolutely have to. Transition altitude is probably accurate, actually. Let's go and have a look. So this is where Navigraph really comes into its own. So this answers your question in the live stream chat. So if you go and look at the standard instrument departure chart, it will have on it at the top the transition altitude. 5,000 feet, not 6,000. Okay. So that's the performance data done. We haven't done the departure or arrival. So if we went and looked in legs, it starts at Nelsa and goes straight through. So if we go departure, arrival, and we go to departures, it knows runway 32 because we already keyed that in, but we need to know which departure we're doing, and it's the Nels 3W departure, which ends at Nelsa. Okay, so Nels 3W, and execute that. And because it ends at the first waypoint of our route, that means there shouldn't be a discontinuity. We'll check it, obviously, but that's the plan. So for the arrival, we're going runway 08, the big N1K star, and ILS into runway 08. And it's using a JW1 transition. So ILS 08, JW1, and the big N1K. Execute, and then let's go and have a look. I bet there'll be some discontinuities towards the end. So the first of it, yeah, look, see, it's connected up to Nelsa perfectly on the standard instrument departure. So if we carry on down, here we go, we've got a discontinuity on that JW. The reason for that, if we go and have a look, is because this doesn't all knit up nicely. The star brings us in to this non-directional beacon, and then we have to reverse course, which the diagram won't make much sense at this point, because you're coming in this way, and then you're essentially flying back out. Notice you could be held in a hold there directly over the top of the airport, at which point you would probably be given vectors out to, you know, the approach. So yeah, a lot of the time you can't make really nice, neat diagrams out of what you're given. You have to just go with it and modify it on the way. So what we'll do for the moment is get rid of that discontinuity, so we can just pull up JW, go previous, and drop it on top, and it will close it up. So notice we've got that in here, look. JW at, that's interesting, look, flight level 290. Remember, we put all of this in, we didn't put any heights in. So we might want to change that and put in, if we put 1,000 feet in, we could play with holds on the way. So 10,000 feet, sorry. So if we came in at 100, let's see if this understands what I mean by 100. So what I need to do, I've done that slightly wrong. If I clear that out and I go /100, so if we come in over JW, see, notice I've changed the height we're coming in at. Then we just need to do a lap in the hold, coming down to above 3,000 feet, at which point we would be coming in or departing that and going out for the rest of the route. But we could always modify it on the way in. It doesn't really make much difference. Okay, and the rest of it all just neatly lines up, and you've got the rest of the descent going on the way down. Okay, so we've done programming the route, and we've made sure that we've got rid of the discontinuities, and so the next thing we're going to do is go over to the mode control panel, which I have not got the correct keyboard reference for. I keep forgetting to fix this in the plan. So we're going to look for the departure runway direction, so 320 degrees on our initial heading. You could look up the exact runway heading. We'll go for 200 knots on the auto throttle as an initial setting. It's worth having a look actually at the standard instrument departure to see if there's any restrictions. So yeah, there is. Look, we're not allowed above 7,000 feet. Interesting, look, 1,190 feet or half a mile, so you need to climb pretty steeply, but we'd go no higher than 7,000 feet until we get to Nelsa. So our initial climb altitude will be 7,000. I'm just looking for see if there's any speed restrictions. I can't see any, so it's just going to be the normal 250 or less below 10,000 feet. The advantage, just reading the live stream comments there, the advantage Navigraph gives you is you get all of this extra information, and it's worth pointing out LittleNavMap does give you some of it. So if I expand this out, you can see restrictions are in here. So, but it's not as clear. So although it's saying above 3,500, it's not telling you as much as this chart, which is actually from 3,000 or 3.5 up to 7. Notice it's saying flight levels. That's because above the transition altitude, which is 5,000 feet, altitudes are shown as flight levels. Okay, so that's the way you can almost work out where the transition altitude is if you don't know it, but you do know that you've got constraints involved that are either in thousands of feet or in flight levels. Anyway, ending up talking about all sorts of things, aren't we? So we've set the auto throttle speed, we've set the initial heading. We could set the initial climb out vertical speed. We can go and put the flight directors on as well. So we can go and put the vertical speed, just so we don't get any surprises. So say 2,000 feet a minute maybe. Now if we go and look around the corner, they're flashing, hurrah! It's lined quite quickly because we've been busy talking. So if we go to nav now, you'll see the screens have come alive. So we've got an attitude indicator now, and the navigation display is lit up with the course we've just programmed. Okay, so back on the tablet, we're going to prepare for pushback and do the chocks and everything. So you do have the choice with this aeroplane. You could start the engines up while we're in place, or you could do it after pushback. Should we start up while we're here? Well, actually, no, let's do pushback first. Let's do this the proper way. But obviously, different airports may have different procedures around doing this. So we'll remove the chocks, we'll go to pushback, and we will connect to the aircraft and make pushback happen, come off the parking brake, and we can tell it to go sideways as well. Just going to go check. We are leaving that way, aren't we? So, done this a bit backwards. This would be interesting actually to see if we double back into the space next door, which will allow us to then pull straight out. We should have really gone the other way because we're taking off this runway. We're just doing a very, very unorthodox manoeuvre in the parking area, which is always going to be fun. It's a shame it hasn't got the tractor on the front of the aeroplane for this. I wonder if they'll try and fix that for future versions. So we'll cancel that pushback and put the parking brake back on now. And we can go and get on with getting the aeroplane ready. So, engine start. So let's go and go overhead. We should have really put the seatbelts on for the pushback so nobody falls over. So further overhead, we're going to put the beacon light on, which tells anybody nearby the engines are about to come on. And then we go and put the rest of the fuel pumps on. And we go and put the start master switch to on. We select an engine and we hit start. Then down in the cockpit we can monitor the numbers. When the N2 comes up through 10%, we can advance the fuel control or throttle lever. And the engine will spin up. So Luke's asking, do I use the latest air rack from Navigraph? Yeah, it just makes things easy, because so if you've got Simbrief integration, it means that everything just knits up nicely if you've got Navigraph. You don't end up with waypoints missing or SIDs or stars being slightly different, which isn't a disaster, but I often do group flights and they'll be asking, you know, the ATC may be asking for a particular SID or a star or a waypoint, and if you don't have the up-to-date air rack, then you might have problems. 7, 8, 9, 10%, whoops, and click. Just waiting for the ignition lights to go out for engine number 3. Then we can go and do number 2. Just watching N2 come up. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Click. So exhaust gas temperature is rising, turbofan speed is increasing. It's all looking good. Wait for the ignition lights to go out once more. So something I haven't got on my checklist that I noticed the other day is you've got continuous ignition on here as well. So you do have the option of using that during start. So I clicked the wrong direction then for a moment, didn't I? Did it not take? Let's try that again. Start. There we go, it's doing it now. 7, 8, 9, 10. Clunk. So it's waiting for the engines to come up, and once we have all 4 engines running, we can select Start Master back to, or select the starter to off and Start Master to off. Just waiting for these to go out. There we go. So having done that, over here we can go and put the hydraulic pumps on, and Gen 1 and 4 go to on. Gen 1 and 4, and over on the other side we can go and turn the packs on and the engine air can come on. Brake fans can go to auto, which is further overhead. Done the hydraulics. Ice protection. So further down, we're going to go and turn the screen heats on, the auxiliary vanes on, and the pitot heaters on. And we're essentially ready to taxi at this point, but before we do so, we're going to go and look down on the pedestal and put the TCAS onto TA only, so we are transmitting, not responding to other transmissions. So the aircraft won't, when we're on autopilot, it won't suddenly react to an aeroplane nearby. So then, Control 7, come back overhead. We're going to go and put the taxi lights on. And we can taxi out. So let's go and familiarise ourselves with the airport layout. So we're taking off runway 32. So we want to take an immediate left turn and then down the Delta taxiway. So let's go and turn the head tracking on. There's the Delta taxiway. So we're going to move the flaps to takeoff position while we're on the way to, if we can. I'm just going to check that that's actually configured, because I've had issues with this the last few days. Yeah, flaps aren't moving, look. I think my switch is a bit dodgy on the quadrant. Or I need to remap it maybe, we'll see. So yeah, flaps are now travelling. So while we are taxiing, we can go into aircraft and we can say...
Cabin crew, please take your seats for takeoff.
It always makes me laugh for some reason. And we'll line up on the runway, or we'll hang on for a moment.
Cabin is secured.
That's an AI aircraft, not a human. We may manipulate time on the way so it's not dark on the way into Jersey, otherwise you won't get to see anything, which would be a bit boring. Something else I haven't done, you can click on the paper notepad here to set the rotate speeds. So if I just show you that, if you look down here, we're on 18 degrees, which means we rotate 147. So if I click on that, it will have put the markers on the indicated airspeed ribbon for us. If you think this is a bit bright, which again, I'm going to wind the time back now so we don't get this happen later. Let's go and just wind it back and give ourselves a few more hours of daylight. Okay, so we're just going to double check around things. So Control 8 takes us overhead. We go and put the strobes on. Back down in the cockpit, we're going to go and switch the primary lights over to landing so they're a bit brighter. So we're going to have a look at the outside so you get to see it. We're lit up like a Christmas tree now, and the strobes are flashing away. So that's it. So there is, actually let's try something, I haven't tried this yet. There's a button down here called Config Check. And it seems to be okay. I think you need eyes in the back of your head though to be able to press it and look around. So let's try that again. So the thing that lit up was just here. It was the anti-skid, I think. But anyway. So you can see there's the flight plan directly in front of us. So we can go and pre-configure whatever we want to here. So lateral navigation and the vertical speed mode is on, so it will go for 2,000 feet a minute. As soon as we engage, it will also go for auto throttle. So let's go for it.
Check thrust. Thrust set. Airspeed allowed. Knots. Go. Rotate.
Descend.
Positive climb.
Descend.
0%.
Okay, autopilot is on. That's a bit odd. Look, I've seen this before where the gyros take a few seconds to kick in, which is going to put us alarmingly close to that windmill, but it's now got the idea and it's climbing us out. So we can increase speed now to 250. Up into the cloud. So remember, 5,000 feet for the barometric pressure, so let's just keep an eye on that on the way out. Holding 250 knots at the moment. Coming up to 3,000 feet. Should we have a look from outside briefly? Quite a wiggly departure, isn't it? So this can probably go a bit steeper. We could do level change and let the airplane just take over. We can go for climb mode. We should have had climb mode on already. It was on toga for the takeoff, but then we go to climb norm. We could use climb max as well on the thrust management system. So there's 5,000 feet. So now we go for not that. I've done that every time so far in this aeroplane. 2992. Standard barometric pressure. So we're coming up, we're 1,000 feet now away from our first target altitude. If we go and have a look at the chart to show you that, we are now at 7,000 feet until we get to Nelsa. Okay, so we're not allowed any higher than this. Once we get through Nelsa, we're free to climb up to our cruise altitude, which was 29,000 feet. So, because altitude hold is already on, it will take no notice of us changing the altitude unless we press it, which I don't think we can on this version. This is a Collins MCP. I went and had a look at this the other evening. So yeah, it's common with the one that you see in the 737, but some of the stuff isn't hooked up the same. So for example, you haven't got VNav, and I don't think you can, or certainly it's not implemented, you can't press altitude to select. So there's Nelsa. So we could go and pre-select 2,900 feet, or put it, get it ready, and then we just press level change when we get to Nelsa, and then manipulate the speed as well. We'll leave climb on norm. So next few things for us to do will be turning the landing lights off when we come up through 10,000 feet. We can bring the heading round to match the direction we're going. Just make things neat and tidy. We can go and turn the nav radios on should we need them later. I'm using GPS so far. Maybe increase the range on the TCAS while we're busy doing this. Okay, we're coming through Nelsa, so we can now go and say level change please and accelerate. So we're going command 280. It will go for speed ahead of climb rate. So as soon as we get to 280 you will see the climb rate shoot up because it's not trying to accelerate anymore. Just wait for that to happen and then we'll go and have a look outside again. And there we go, look, it's hit the target and the climb rate is increasing. It's using that excess thrust to climb instead of accelerate. We're going upstairs. Coming up through 9,000 feet in a moment. So 1,000 feet away from turning the landing lights off. General air laws say that commercial aircraft must have landing lights on below at or below 10,000 feet. Or flight level 100 in this case. Okay, it's 10,000, so they come off. No alerts. We're in climb mode on the engines. Auto throttles are set for 280 knots. And we're on our way. We can increase the range on the navigation display now. So you can see we're going to hit top of climb in between Barton and Carno. So if we have a look on the map, there's Barton and Carno. So about there we'll hit 29,000 feet. And we trundle on down towards Jersey. Okay, so we see if we can pick up a few VOR stations along the way. This is where it gets interesting, look. VOR stations are not as obvious on a Navigraph chart. If you go and look in LittleNavMap at the same thing, you can see them very easily. So there's one at Manchester, look. So if we go show information for the VOR DME at Manchester, 11355. So if we go and tune that in just for a bit of fun. And switching to active, you'll see the DME flick round there. So there's the direction off our nose of that VOR station. And you can also see it marked on the navigation display. So is there one on the other side we could do with VOR2? Yeah. Wolsey, 11410. So now it's gone the other side, look. So the arrows are pointing at the VORs, and those arrows will gently sweep past us, pointing at nav1 and nav2, with the distance measuring to each one. So Roy's saying, hi, do you ever stop? Nope. I had a free afternoon because I've had this week off work, so I had a free afternoon, so I'm flying the RJ100 again. I've never done this approach into Jersey, so Roy would be an expert at this, and he would probably be able to tell me how to do this. But as far as I can tell, I follow the route in until I get to the non-directional beacon, and then I double back to the right, and then follow the teardrop in, so descending as we go. So there is obviously a hold there, which is ATC would put you on that if there were lots of you, I guess. So there's a queue of aeroplanes coming in, but we're coming in basically at 10,000 feet into here, and then I will descend down to 3,000 to come in for Jersey. So the interesting thing here, if we go and look at the ILS, so how many miles out is that saying? That's 5.3 there. It hasn't got a marker for, so it's 8.3. Okay, so if you are measuring this, the interesting thing though, if you're coming in this way and you're going to turn back, you're not going to be on that line, you're going to be over here. But it's interesting though, look, it shows you here the expected descent. So I may improvise a little bit because we can with the RJ100. We can, you know, we can descend very quickly if we need to. Or not, if we can't, we'll just stay in that hold. It'd be worth having a look at that actually while we're flying along, about hold programming. So if we go and look at the legs page, and we go next, and I can never remember how to do this, by the way, so this will be quite instructional. There's that JW non-directional beacon. So if we go previous, I think it's appearing twice though, once at flight level 100 and then above 3,000, which is a bit odd. So I think we can get rid of the earlier one. So if we pull that over the top of that one, it won't look. So I think we can just delete this one. I think it's a mistake in terms of the flight plan. So if we then go next, pick that one up, previous, drop that there. Yeah, that looks more sensible. So we'll come into JW above 3,000 feet. So remembering JW is right against the airport. So then we can either go into a hold pattern here, just to wait above 3,000 feet. So that, we could be 10,000, for example, and then we go back round. So we're saying we'll be at Shark at 10,000 feet. So yeah, we'll still be descending as we come along here. So let's have a look. If we were to select JW, say legs. I don't want to do that. Is it got a cancel button? It hasn't, has it? You can't, once you've executed, you have to do it. So let's go next. So there's JW. If we go to hold at, here we go, JW. And now we can say which one we mean. So it will be the 49-degree one, but we can confirm that by show you how to do this on LittleNavMap. If we go and find JW and show information for it, it will give you the longitude latitude. So it's the 49-degree one, which is that one. And if we go next, yeah, it's got hold at JW. So then if we go and look in the hold button, there's the JW hold parameters, and we can configure them. So we do want to do a right turn. Yeah. Turn direction right, inbound course. What course will we be travelling on the way into the hold? So this hasn't actually got it written in very well, has it? But it's probably 83 degrees looking at that. Yeah. So if we put 83, not 85, and with a 1 minute leg length, you can obviously manipulate that. Best speed in the hold, 210 knots. Does it actually tell us here what speed to use in the hold? At 3,000 feet, extend outbound leg of holding to 8.3. So extend that to 8.3 miles basically. So that's what this is really meaning. Continue on the hold, extend, descend 2,000 feet, right turn, intercept, ILS. That makes more sense. When you actually read it, it makes more sense than the diagram. And yeah, 210 knots max. So Roy says, yes, assume you're using runway 0A over JW turning southwest. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just for the aid of people that are looking at this online, just explaining the thought processes of when you read the text here, it makes much more sense. Because the constraint over JW was above 3,000 feet, although it's not written on this chart. It may be on this one. No, it still doesn't, but it appeared in the aeroplane saying above 3,000 at JW. What if it says it anywhere else? But then you've got the picture of the JW NDB and the hold. We'll see what happens when we get there. We're still not even at the top of climb. Will this give us time estimates at each waypoint? So if we go and look at the legs page and go extended data, yeah, here we go. And about half an hour then, we need to think about it. 40 minutes or so. So up to 26,000 feet now, trundling along. Looks the part, doesn't it? It's interesting, isn't it? Roy's broken into so for the benefit of everybody watching this channel, Roy often performs air traffic controller duties for a group called My Air, and he slipped into becoming ATC down there on the live stream chat. So if anybody wants to learn how to fly with air traffic control and having the radio telephony going on, My Air are a fantastic group to learn with. The on-ramp at My Air is a lot more shallow than at VATSIM. So they are much more forgiving of you not knowing, and then they will explain as you go. And answer questions. So My Air have a Discord server. I'll try to find it and put it in as a link in the video later. Okay, so while the aeroplane is happily trundling along on the way towards Jersey, we've got about half an hour until we need to really think about doing much. I'm going to go and make a coffee, so I'll be back in a bit. Right, so I'm back and I have coffee. Coffee makes the world go around. Let's have a look around the aeroplane, see how everything's looking. Does this have an outside air temperature meter somewhere? It's just a time, that's a clock. You've got the oxygen supply meters. Pressurization. It's got me thinking now, where would the outside air temperature be? Because you've obviously got the engine gauges here, which show you obviously engine temperatures. There we go, it's down here, co-pilot side. So the pilot doesn't get it, look, the pilot gets brakes, but the co-pilot gets the outside air temperature. Minus 40, oh my word. Luckily we are above the cloud, so there's no risk of ice. But this does have ice detection hardware built in. So if you remember, during the startup we switched on, there it is there, look, the ice detection system. So if we did get a threat of ice, we can just turn on all of the engine anti-ices, the wing anti-ices and the tail anti-ice, and it will warm up the various elements of the aircraft that need to be kept warm. I'm not sure if the wing has boots or if it just heats up. I guess it just warms up these metal areas. As far as I remember from the 146 and reading about it, and I imagine it's similar in this, when you turn on anti-ice you lose some thrust because obviously the engine is being charged with doing more than just pushing itself along. Some of the output is being used to heat up elements. It's only like, you know, a few percent, but it's worth knowing about in a long climb. I still haven't got my head completely around the different modes on the navigation display. So we've got plan mode, which is fairly obvious, and you can use the legs page, I believe, to do stepping. So if we go legs, yeah, you can step just as you can in other aircraft. Now there's something coming towards us, look. Oh no, sorry, that's ourselves, we're in plan mode. It just shows you how much orientation can be tricked. If we go to map mode, that's us. In plan mode, obviously it's suddenly north facing and we are travelling south. So arc mode, yeah, this is the one that threw me. This is like the landing system mode, but they've called it arc mode. So I think this is essentially a lesser version of the Boeing hardware, to be honest. Certainly the FMC is. Because while we were playing with this the other day, we discovered we could program fixes and radius rings and vectors. So that all works. They've implemented it. You can do custom waypoints as well by setting a waypoint, a bearing, slash and a distance. So we could, for example, go PAC-C, say we went for 225, and how many miles are we showing here? 40. Say if we did, yeah, PAC-C 225, 30 miles. Let's try it to show you it. So if I went PACSE 225/30, if I was to put that on top of Sidho, it's not going to show you unless I execute it. That's a bit of a shame. So I'm going to erase it rather than do it. But what it would have done is done that. Yeah, it would have extended the leg out that way. It's a shame it doesn't preview it. Let's pull the heading line around, by the way. While we're en route, we could go and set the radio up for landing. We want the diagram of the ILS, which is 110.9, 83 degrees. So we'll put the course to 83 degrees on both sides. Because you only use course for VOR navigation, which we're not doing. And 110.9 on the radios. So 110.9, do it on the nav2 as well. Okay, so we're coming up towards Paxi, then on to Sidho. Let's see where we are on the route. So we've got quite a long way to go. We're still out over the southwest of the UK. Going to have a look outside. We'll see Devon and Cornwall below us. We just check the volume levels. Yeah, so the aeroplane's quite noisy, isn't it? But I guess if I turn it down a little bit. So the town we're just passing there Sedgemoor Services. So Burnham-on-Sea is this town. And over there is the Sedgemoor Services, which anyone who's travelled up and down the country will know all about the Sedgemoor Services. Yeah, so I mentioned MyAir earlier. If anyone's interested in getting into flying the big aeroplanes and wants to take it onto the next level of actually doing some radio telephony and talking to air traffic control and receiving instruction and responding to it along with a group of others, I'll find their website for you and get the link for it. I've got a bit.ly link somewhere for their Discord for an invitation. So if you bear with me for a few moments, I will go and find the link that I made for them some time ago. Okay, so I'll put it in the live stream chat. So this is the MyAir Discord joining invitation link. But yeah, so MyAir on Tuesday evenings and Thursday evenings, they run sessions to fly from A to B, where a whole group of people fly the same route. So if you are learning, it's a perfect opportunity to sit back and either fly at the back and parrot what you've heard before, or be brave and go up the front. At some point I'll have to twist their arms at my air to record a session, because they quite often get 8 or 10 aeroplanes flying the route, and it becomes quite good fun, you know, all queuing up to depart and then organising separation on approach. Maybe, you know, 1 or 2 maybe getting put into holds because they haven't descended fast enough or whatever it is, or they're, you know, converging paths on different flight plans into the destination. So yeah, it becomes good fun. Their flights are typically organised to be inside 2 hours, and the middle part of the flight is open microphone, so it's just a chat between everybody while you're in cruise, a bit like us now. So I was going to explain, wasn't I, about doing fixes. So if we go to Jersey at the end of our route, let's have a look on Navigraph. So where are we now? We're about to clear the south coast, going in towards the standard terminal arrival route into Jersey. So Echo Golf Juliet Juliet. So if we went to fixes and we go Echo Golf Juliet Juliet, we can put 3 lines basically onto the chart. So what we could do, if we put in a radial, then we will get a line on the chart. If we put in with something without a radial, just put a slash under distance, it will give us a circle on the chart. So if I go /100, for example, we'll get a 100-mile radius line around Jersey. Yeah? And there it is. We've just crossed it, look. We've just come inside 100 miles. So I'm going to begin descending. We're at 30,000 feet, which means on the 3-to-1 rule of being able to descend 1,000 feet every 3 miles, we're going to need 90 miles to get down to the ground. We've just gone through 100, so to give ourselves time to decelerate and everything else, let's actually begin our descent already. So remember coming in, but there were no particular height restrictions other than being above 3,000 feet when we came into the non-directional beacon on the way in. So we'll target 10,000 feet to begin with, because that gives us a point to stop at to slow down. So if we go vertical speed and tell the aeroplane to start descending, (1,500 feet a minute), which it should be able to handle. Keep an eye on that airspeed. Vertical speed is dangerous for this very fact that it won't, it will obey what you ask regardless of what speed it can restrict itself to by winding the throttles back. So there's our green banana has appeared. We can increase range on this so we can see a more complete picture. Yeah, so that's, it would be good if we could come down a little bit more quickly. I think typically this aeroplane can get away with about 1,700 feet a minute in a glide. Maybe a bit more. Depends on the weather conditions. So Dave Dugdale says hello. Hi Dave. So we're just beginning our descent towards Jersey. So let's go and check the weather at Jersey. So we can do that either in Navigraph. I'll show you the Navigraph way and the LittleNavMap way. So in Navigraph, you can go information on your destination airport, and you can open the airport and go to weather, and it is all listed out. So we got, as Roy said all of this earlier, didn't he? 4 knots at 100 degrees for the wind. Broken clouds, 2,400 feet. 11 degrees centigrade. And QNH 1025 or 30.27 inches. But the thing we're more interested in than that, to be honest, is the transition altitude. There it is, 5,000 feet. So now we know what we know about the approach. We don't actually need the hold. So we could remove the hold. So it's doing a hold at JW. But I guess I ought to show you this to show you how a hold works. Notice we've got the hold there is at the wrong altitude. So we'll put in /3000. And execute it. Again, it's only a reference number because there is no VNav in the RJ100 or the RJ family. We are overspeeding, look. So you can hear the airframe complaining. I don't know if you could hear that. That was our telltale. So I've just extended the air brake slightly, which is the fantail on the RJ. Oh, I thought I had. There we go. And it's just containing the speed. It's trying to speed up again. Let's come down off the speed. So as we descend, that targeted airspeed was getting mightily close to the limit of the airframe. This will declutter itself as we zoom in, getting closer to the destination, so don't worry. So notice we've got a top of descent here. We could have come down a lot more steeply than we have, but I've given us some time to go and do the hold on purpose. So we're coming down not as quickly as we could on purpose. And you can see if we've got this right, then yeah, we come through JW and then we do the right turn. So it's got the hold drawn in on the right place on the plan, which is good. So we'll be planning to do one lap of the hold and then exiting it and joining the ILS. So Dave says, I just heard you talk about My Air. I joined the Discord and hopefully we'll jump on at some point. Would love to learn talking to ATC without the stress of VATSIM. Everybody is scared to death of VATSIM. I don't know why. I think sometimes their controllers can be quite unforgiving and I think some of the other pilots, because until you kind of have learnt the ropes, you can be quite slow. And yeah, you don't know what you don't know in the beginning. So My Air is a very good learning environment for that, to get you ready for it. Where all you're going to get if you mess something up is that you might get a bit of a chuckle and some laughter and some ribbing from the others. But then you'll hear them make mistakes. So it's a bit of a leveler. So let's go and bring the range down on the Navigation display. So we're still just descending quite gently. So barometric, sorry, the transition altitude at Jersey was 5,000 feet. So we don't need to worry about that, but we'll leave it on Navigraph. I was going to show you how to do the same thing in LittleNavMap, wasn't I? So if you right click on an airport and show information for the airport, you get all of the tabs pop up, and one of them is weather, and that will give you everything you need in there. It's formatted slightly differently. It also, if you've got Navigraph, it will give you the transition altitude as well when you're looking at the weather for an airport. The other thing you can do in LittleNavMap is just hover the mouse over an airport and it pops open all of the information. So you get a METAR readout. So well, it's not really very handy in that if I move away from it, it will disappear. If you can see, there's a line there that says NOAA station METAR. So it gives you the ICAO code of the airport, followed by the time of the reading. And then after that, it says auto, and then it's the direction and speed of the wind. So 190 degrees at 4 knots. Yeah. And then you've got the weather after that. So whoops, you've got overcast 025, so that's 2,500 feet. And then you've got the QNH on the end, the Q1023. So it says wind, oh, that was the wind for Manchester it was telling us about there. So if we go down and look on our route and look at Jersey, we've got 100 degrees, 4 knot wind. And 70 degrees, variable 130. What we got? Broken cloud, 2,400 feet. QNH 1025. And again, wind prefers runway 8 at Jersey. So the mistake you can make in LittleNavMap is looking at this arrow and wind speed. This is relative to your current location, not at the airport. So it's worth remembering that at all times. So we're coming in now towards, so if we put this on the wider chart, we're on the star, look. Flying in. There is another hold here. There's another one here. Let's come down a bit more steeply. Let's see what this can manage. If I take the spoilers off, or the air brakes, so we're still managing 280 knots coming down at 2,000 feet a minute, which is impressive really. Well, I think it is. So remember, we're only going for 10,000 feet to begin with, then we'll pull the speed back to 250 knots. We can do it ahead of time. The aircraft will raise its nose in order to do it under typical circumstances, but this is not typical. Look, we're using vertical speed, so it will take no notice. So all it's doing is using leftover power to try to decelerate, and look, it can't. So that's when you would use spoilers. So we put the air brakes out, and that's allowing us to decelerate. Because we're in vertical speed mode, it's going to continue down at whatever rate we've set. If we were using level change, changing the target speed would change the pitch of the aircraft. So we're coming up to 10,000 feet. We're also coming up to 250 knots. So then we can go for above 3,000 coming through that waypoint. So let's go and reduce that range again. Oh, sorry, wrong knob. There we go. So we're now at 10,000 feet. So let's pull ourselves down to, say, 4,000. Because it says, just said above 3, remember, on the chart. And again, we can go vertical speed. You could do it level change and come down very quickly. I'm just doing it gently so we get to see things and get to talk about them along the way. So now we're below 10,000 feet, we want the landing lights on. We've got the courses set for the runway direction, 83 degrees. We've got the navigation radios set and on for the ILS frequency. So you can already see, look, we're picking up a signal for glide slope and localizer, even up here. So we're way above the glide slope, obviously, because we're 9,000 feet. And we're way to the left of the center line, which is obviously over here. So we're already showing the ILS signal. We can go and turn the heading bug as well to match the runway direction. Because we're not using it, we're using lateral navigation, remember, using GPS. So there's the green banana, as everybody calls it. So that's going to get us to 4,000 feet. But then when we come through RW, was it called RW? Oh, JW, sorry. We will enter the hold pattern that we programmed in. So we wanted 210 as well, didn't we, on the hold? That was the maximum speed to go into the hold at. So to help us slow down, we're going to go and throw the air brakes out. So the airplane will turn left at the next waypoint. Shall have a look outside as it does it. So we've got the air brakes out, we're descending. The island's over there underneath the cloud. Here goes our left turn, so we'll end up on the runway direction. So you can see the flight directors are working overtime to keep us on track. So let's go and reduce that range again on the navigation display so we can actually see it. So the airplane's coming round. It will fly this racetrack on the hold and we'll descend while we're in the hold. So we're coming in over JW above 3,000 feet. Because that's what it says on the chart. So you can see now outside, you can see the shores of Jersey appearing. So if we go and have a look here, so we're coming in and we're going to do this racetrack, but we're going to extend out back out to 8.3 miles. So it would make sense for us to say 263 degrees on our heading, and we'll switch to heading mode at the last moment. As soon as we've come out around the hold, we can actually disable the GPS and just go to selected heading mode. So we'll disregard GPS. There's the runway, look. So we're directly in line with it, but at 4,000 feet. So then as soon as we make the turn away from the runway over JW, we'll start descending again. So we can go to first stage of flaps actually. So we're going to see that happen. So we should see the plane brake any moment and turn right. Three, two, one. Go on then. Is it going to do it? If it doesn't, I'll turn it myself. No, there it goes. Look, it's just doing it. I was being impatient. So it's entering the hold. So there's the airport beneath us. So 2,000 feet. And do a level change to get there.
Take brake.
Just giving it a little bit more spoiler to help it out, which has tightened the turn look and pulled us inside the projected hold, which is interesting.
Speed checked. Geared up.
So if we pull this to 200 knots, you're already on the first stage of flaps. We should have, I've completely missed setting the barometric pressure. Let's go do that. 32.7. Wrong one. Every single time. So notice that's influencing the altitude. So we are going to extend out to parallel to shark. So we're going to go heading select mode instead of lateral navigation. So although we have the chart drawn in, it's not quite right because this hold didn't go far enough. Because you can see, look, here comes the glide slope. We're flying away from it, but we're aiming to get below it at 2,000 feet. So we're 6 miles out, look now, and we're below the glide slope. So we could turn in now if we wanted to, but it said 8.3, didn't it, on the chart? So all we'll do is spin the heading round to the right, which will turn us back towards shark. We will get a slightly tighter turning circle because of the speed we're doing. So we'll just come back to 180 knots. Right, I can't see any harm in turning now, to be honest. There's the 8.2 coming up. So we're going to turn back towards 83 degrees basically, but we're not going to quite go for 83 because we are anticipating a tighter turn. So if we go for 63, and then we can intercept, or 53 even, that will give us a 30-degree intercept on the ILS. We can even try out approach mode if you want to see it. Okay, so you see on the chart here, look, we've turned a lot more steeply because we were slower. So there's the runway. There's the glide slope. There's the localizer. It's off to our left, which we know. Look, there's the line. So, based on what we saw earlier, we should be able to say, change this to arc mode, and this gives us an HSI with a CDI in the middle of it. But it's backwards. It's not quite showing what we think it should. Anyway. Let's go and turn the heading then back towards, yeah, here comes the CDI. And the glide slope's coming down. So if we went for approach mode,
Glide slope alive.
so it's now trying to guide itself to get on the glide slope and the
Glide slope capture.
there we go. He's saying everything I wanted to do and much more succinctly. So flaps can go to the next stage. And we're now just managing speed on the way in. Obviously we can take over and fly it ourselves, so I'm going to grab the joystick and put it next to me. Because where's the fun in letting the aeroplane land itself? What I'll do is turn head tracking on. Autopilot off. Auto throttle off. And I am in control to give the wings a waggle. Got full flaps now. Should we have a look outside? It's fairly stable. We are configured. Speed's pretty good. Almost on the glide slope. Pretty much on the localizer. The Pappies agree.
1,000. Cabin crew, please take a 6 for landing.
Cabin is secured for arrival.
Going a bit low. I was too busy watching that Mooney that just flew down the side of us.
500. Minimums 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Ground idle. Spoilers, yellow and green. Brake pressure checked.
Okay.
60 knots.
So, coming off the runway, we need to go and turn off the landing lights and put them onto taxi instead. If I can grab hold of them. And the cabin music has kicked in. And we're going to taxi up and park. So we didn't actually turn the APU off on the way. We could have done, and I left it on basically because I'm being lazy, because I don't want to have to turn it back on to get power back in case we don't get ground power at the airport. Did you notice their ground speed triggers the lift spoilers? So this is the Inibuilds version of Jersey. We'll go and have a look around it with the camera in a moment. We're going to taxi around to the far side of it to park. Just so you get to have a look around it before we go around with the camera. So if we go and park down at one of the terminals nearer to the main building. There are multiple versions of Jersey. I think the favourite one I've ever seen is probably I think it's FS2000, is it, that make them? Their version was very, very good. It's got lots of GA planes and stuff parked up. So Inibuilds seems to be a little bit less detailed, but that means that the frame rate will be very good. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Be careful what you wish for with scenery. Okay, so we'll just get the engines powered down.
Cabin crew, doors to manual and check.
So engines are spinning down as we speak. So I can turn the generators off for the main engines. We've still got the APU running, remember. So engine air can come off. And the packs can come off. The pumps, except the inner pump, can come off. The hydraulic pumps can come off. And in terms of lighting, we can turn the beacon light off now the engines aren't running. We'll leave the nav light on because we do still have something running on board. And let's go and have a look around the airport. Should we go and let the cabin, or let the passengers out first though? So seatbelt signs off, put the chocks in place, open the passenger door, and we're going to be obscured from watching this by the... There we go. I just like watching things like that, I don't know why. Okay, so now we've got the doors open, let's go to the drone camera. So this is Jersey Airport from Inibuilds. Let's go and have a fly around it. So you can see there's a hangar over here with a... Now, I'm going to get this wrong. Is that a dash? I think it is, isn't it? Because their tails look different than ATR's. There's a King Air parked up. And a Cessna CJ4, is that called? It's another King Air, another Cessna. So let's go and have a look at the control tower. Everybody loves to see the control towers for some reason. So it's quite basic, but they appear to have 2 coffee machines. Must be quite a stressful job where you cannot fall asleep. So we've got the car parks. And you've got the old hangars here, like Jersey Airlines, with the fire engines on the side of it, obviously waiting for me. You got the old 1940s style hangar over here. So let me just straighten the camera up. I'm not sure that we can go in here. Although there does appear to be a 3D structure in there, but I think it's an empty shell when you look inside it. Yeah, it is. Okay, let's go over to the modern terminal building then and have a nosy around it. So we're coming through the glass. And oh my word, they appear to have modelled the whole thing. So you've got security, scanner. Can we set the scanners off? Oh, apparently we're fine. It's pretty cool, isn't it, seeing all of this stuff in the simulator. So if we come out of this end and out over the back of the terminal, obviously you see the gates. We already saw a lot of this, didn't we? So there we go, Jersey from Inibuilds. It's pretty well done. Should go down the far end and see what they've done with the tank farm. And around the end of the airport. So we've got the hardware down here for the radar, which appears to be spinning. I think it might be spinning a bit faster than that in the real world, but you never know. They're usually about every 3 seconds, aren't they? Either 3 or 5. And you've got the lights. And the fire drill area. Very cool. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. So that was a flight in the Avro RJ100 from East Midlands Airport in Leeds over to, or Leeds Bradford I should say, over to Jersey. So both airfields were from Inibuilds. I put the links in the notes, and along the way we also spoke about My Air and the opportunities to go and talk to air traffic controllers while you were flying and to learn how to do it. So I put a link in the live stream chat. I'll also copy it as a pinned note as soon as this turns into a normal video at the end of the stream. So Sorin says, how can I find out when the next live stream will be? Well, maybe you can tell me when it will be. I don't plan them. This is not my day job. Literally, if I get a couple of spare hours, then I'll go and jump in the sim and do a flight somewhere. But none of it is planned ahead. Maybe I should plan it ahead and say on a Tuesday or whatever, or a Wednesday night, maybe I'll say that's going to be flying. But at the moment I don't, because I don't typically know from one day to the next when I'm going to have some time. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed that. We showed lots of stuff off with the Avro, and there was quite a lot of content in there about flight plans, and an interesting one there where you overfly and then follow the written instructions to fly back out, you know, on a descending turn. It was good. Right. I'll see you again soon. Thanks ever so much for watching. Take care. Cheers, Roy.